There are tens of thousands of wines to choose from every day. It's a huge benefit, and it's a massive conundrum. How do you choose the wine you want tonight? I'm tasting this Oyster Bay 2024, and I just bought it today at the grocery store because I worked here in Marlborough in the year 2000, 24 years ago. And I know how great the wines from this region are. So for me, choosing this wine is easy. And you too have probably had experiences going to wine country where you've fallen in love with a place and that flavor of that place is special to you and you're going to keep coming back to it. That right there is one of the keys to wine. In fact, it's the starting key. When you focus on your preferences, start with the idea of a place. Pay most attention when you log wines, when you think of wine as something to collect and go back to. Think of place first. And if you can be more specific and say, there's a region in that place, say New Zealand, there's a region, Marlborough. That AVA, that location is even more specific. We create AVAs around the world because they are flavor specific. If you can remember that AVA, that's going to help you too. The third thing to remember is the producer. And that's it. It's locations and people that create wines. People make wines from certain labels, and a good winery like Oyster Bay is going to have a team that's following a recipe that's based on their house style, that no matter who is on the team is going to do a good job. And that's true around the world, is you want to find good people in the right place, in the right regions that you love. And that's the whole secret. There's the core of wine to me. Now, how do you find and choose those people behind a label? Let's dive in. There are really two kinds of wine labels in America. There are American labels and there are imports. The big difference between them is that the imported labels all have to say who imported them. And that's the secret on a French or Spanish or Italian or Chilean South American label, or even from Australia, New Zealand. The importer is going to be the biggest choice I'm actually going to make after the region. It might be the first, depending, because what an importer is, let's get really clear. What an importer does is they travel the world with their team. They generally only choose a few regions of the world to be very good at. Some are just Italian importers, some are just French importers, some are just German, some are just Australian, some are just New Zealand. The reason why that's valuable is because they have spent their career, like Eric Solomon, or Becky Wasserman. There are some great importers who've spent 40 or 50 years of their career traveling the world, finding the great producers, understanding the regions, and they have tasted for you. And at the end of the year, at the end of their cycles, they've made a list of the wines they want to import. They're the good selections from the good regions, from the good people, and then they bring it in. So if that label, for instance, that European label, has basically imported by Grape Expectations in Richmond, California, I'm going to just trust that wine because I know Grape Expectations imports nothing but great wines. I've had their wines over and over again. I can trust it. This wine's an interesting wine. This is imported by Cavatappi Selecciones in Seattle. I worked with them because they sold my wines for over a decade. And knowing Cavatappi, I know how hard they work at direct imports and how picky they are. They don't have a lot of wines, maybe 100 they bring in from all of Europe. So they're extremely picky, and there are no bad choices there. On this label, this Brunello di Montalcino is imported by Vineyard Brands. Now, Vineyard Brands is a larger importer. They've got more selections. But I had a further selection beyond Vineyard Brands that I got this wine from. And this is a big, big part 2 clue. And that is, who did I buy it from? I bought this from Big Hammer Wines in LA. And Greg Marletto there runs a brilliant store. So now, not only is he importing from trustworthy importers who have already selected a host of great wines from Europe, but Greg's going to choose the best of the best for his clients. So now I've got the best of Vineyard Brands coming through Greg, and he knows, and I get to know him, and he gets to know me. We actually had a conversation about a case of wine to buy, and he made this recommendation. I trusted him, so I bought it. This is a wine from Rioja, and this Rioja is imported by Eric Solomon. So again, I don't need to know very much other than I'd like to try a Rioja. If it says Eric Solomon on the back, done deal. Doesn't matter, I don't even remember if this is $15 or $55. Either way, this is gonna crush it because this wine is gonna be good because Eric Solomon has spent his whole career choosing great wines from the world. This wine's an interesting letdown. I'm gonna name names. This is imported by One Vine Wines in Poway, California. It was also hand-packed by Greg Marletto. So it happens. Sometimes you trust Greg, and this is a great deal. This was a $19 wine. And for me, it's a little light. It's a good wine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just, I like it a little heavier. So Greg made a great selection that fits his palate. Doesn't exactly fit mine. It's a good wine. Not a great one, but that's okay. Such is life. I'm not gonna get everything perfect. I'm not gonna be a hole-in-one on every time. And I'm gonna finish with this wine because it's an interesting, difficult choice. There are regions in the old world, big sigh, like Bordeaux. I have spent more time in Bordeaux being elated and deeply disappointed than any other region. Maybe no other region leaves you expecting more and delivering less than Bordeaux. It is a sea of wine, and it can be very difficult. I didn't bring out some of the Grand Cru wines that I have because if you know what Grand Cru is, well then you know that game. And that's a bit of a different football game. It's kind of the Super Bowl for wine. But this is a mid-tier Bordeaux. I got this at the grocery store. It's about $44. The Gazin Rocancourt, it's from my favorite region, and that's why I bought it. It's from Pessac-Léognan in Bordeaux. It's my favorite AVA of Bordeaux, and it's from one of my favorite stores. So I've pretty much whittled it down. Favorite region, favorite store. Now, who's the importer? The importer is by Vignomals, no, that's imported by Diamandes USA, Manhasset, New York. I don't know anything about Diamandes, and that's where the risk was. I wasn't sure. Don't know if they import it in a cold ship. Don't know if they keep it in cold refrigeration while they store it before it ships to the store. Those all things matter. It's one of the things that Eric Solomon, Cavatappi, and Grape Expectations take care of. The shipping and care of the product. They make sure it never gets hot. I don't know. Some importers do, some don't. That's the other reason why. I actually go with name brand importers. And I've got a top list of 12. You'll see that in the little PDF in the file that I give you. You'll see the list of my favorite importers. I took a risk. Maybe the store intended to buy a really great wine. It is a great vintage. 2016 is a great vintage. It is the right region. It's a medium wine house. I don't know anything about Gazin, but I'm willing to risk it. I double risked it by going with Diamandes. Let's hope they took care of this wine, because if they did, it should be a winner. So that's how I buy European wines. It's the region that I like, and it's essentially got to be the importer that I trust, who's bringing wines in from that region, because a bad importer is going to treat the wines poorly and select a weaker wine from that region. Then, if I can get it from my favorite wine store, who I know chooses really good wines, then it's further selected. And when you do that, when you dive into a really great wine store and become friends with them, or a great mailing list, like Greg Marletto Wines at Big Hammer Wines, you end up buying winners over and over again. And then if you can become friends with the director and the salespeople, that's even better, because they're gonna know your palate, you're gonna tell them what you liked, why you liked what they selected last time, what you didn't, maybe all that feedback, and they're gonna be able to hone in and get you wines. I used to walk into McCarthy and Shearing. They used to put us on their mailing list. It was the best wine store in Seattle. And along with Pike and Western, McCarthy and Shearing, De Laurentiis, there were some great wine stores. Dan McCarthy would sell my wines, and I used to walk into Dan's store and say, Dan, I got $300, let's make a case of wine. And he would just walk around the store and put together a box for me and tell me why he's putting it in the box, but I wouldn't ask any questions. I'd just say, cool, I should buy that? Awesome. And he would just make a box of wine, and I would be like, love it. I'd wanted the story behind every bottle, but basically I trusted him that much that even though I knew how to buy wine, I wanted him to show me things that he knew I might not otherwise buy, to open up my perspective and my palate, and have some things that he knew I should be tasting because he knew what I did and produced. And he liked my work, and he wanted to continue to support me as I grew and understood the world better and better. So let's dive into the American wine label. It can seem a little harder to read because you don't have that honed down singular selection of the importer, which would really relieve you of a lot of stress in a foreign wine. With an American wine, you're going to need to hone in on a couple key things, and you're going to really want to pay attention to your region. The regions in America are really going to drive your preferences. So here's a great example of a beautiful wine. These are made by my friends, so I'm super biased about the Analemma. Great wines, all of them. This Analemma Albarino is from the Columbia Gorge. It's from their state property. And the Columbia Gorge has a very specific flavor. It's kind of like Champagne or Marlborough, Cloudy Bay. It's a very specific flavor region outside of Willamette Valley and totally outside the Columbia Valley. So I know what we're going to get out of that for one. And for two, they're my friends. I love them anyway. I'm going to buy their wine. But three, this is great wine. Here's what you can see on the back label. The front label tells you the truth and tells you what you got inside. It's the back label that's going to really tell you some key ingredients. Here's a couple magic words you really want to see on the finest wines in America. It says, grown, produced, and bottled by the name of the winery, this place. And to say slow food and biodynamic is the elevated, finest care growing that there is right now in viticulture, for sure. So that on the back label alone is going to be the biggest driver for me on American wine. Now, let's go to Napa. Longmeadow Ranch, great wine. A little bit of a sneak preview. This was a Big Hammer selection, so Greg helped me buy this. But I did know Longmeadow Ranch before I got to Greg. Why would I choose this? I chose it not because I knew the people or that I'd ever had Longmeadow before, but the first time I chose it, it's because it's from Rutherford. Now, I generally like Napa, but I love Rutherford. That's my spot in Napa. So I'm willing to go for the risk of almost anybody down there in Rutherford because there's just something special there. And this is an expensive wine, but if I want that kind of Napa luxury, this one delivers for me. So that's what's driving it. It's estate grown. That's like saying grown, produced, and bottled by. It all summed up in two words, estate grown. That's a really big key to knowing that this was handled with intention from the vineyard, the intention of the vineyard, the raising and the bottling and the marketing is all in one house. So there's a unified responsibility level, a unified goal set. And as a producer, I know that that's really valuable, and that's going to give me a lot of consistency about how I present my wines, if I can control the vineyard all the way through to the sales. That's really what it comes down to, folks. It's really that straightforward. Learn to know the places in the world you love. Try to hone down on the region. Maybe you love Walla Walla. Maybe you love Yakima Valley. Maybe you love the Columbia Gorge. Maybe it's Rutherford in Napa Valley. Maybe it's Cloudy Bay in New Zealand. Then, if you're getting an import, look at the importers. You're going to want to learn to know the best importers. And then step back and think, what store am I in? What's the store trying to sell me? It's trying to sell me milk, vegetables, and wine? Or is it just selling me wine and it's got a focus and I can talk to the directors of that team and really hone in on my preferences and my style of their selections in that store? Whether it's online, like Big Hammer Wines or wine.com, or whether it's in your local store or in a fine wine shop. That's the secret funnel to getting the finest wines.